Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host, Alex, and with me I've got Dill. How are you, Dill?
Good, mate. Good. Feeling good. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all. It was a bit of a mixed set of results. We have starting with Portsmouth on the weekend and then Ipswich this morning, just about keeping us there or thereabouts with the chasing pack kind of closing in a little bit. But important to get the 3 points against Portsmouth on the weekend, first of all.
Yeah, that was a good one. I guess we'll dive into it soon, but yeah, I was really hoping, out of these, two fixtures, I was really hoping that was the one that we, got over. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think, especially with the Derby game as well last week, to get the back-to-back wins was really important because after a couple of, 3-game winless run, to get back to winning ways was quite significant. And look, it's an interesting one, and I guess when we talk Ipswich this morning, it's a bit of a different story in terms of the level of the performance. But I guess even with the win against Derby and then against Portsmouth, it didn't feel as if the level of the performance was there. But ultimately, you would say to get the 3 points is the main thing at this stage of the season, and we managed to do that against Portsmouth.
Yeah, I only got the first. The first half. That was an early game. I think it was like 11 or so, 10:30 maybe. And yeah, I fell asleep at half, which sometimes happens. Usually I can stay up on these ones, but yeah, I think it was about 10:30 up in Queensland. But we played well. I don't know at the start, and obviously the goal came in the second half, but which I was very glad to wake up to. That was the first thing I did as soon as I woke up. I was like, I can quickly check this because I think I still had probably my laptop next to me or whatever. But yeah, I think we played well. How'd you go with this one?
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I was the same as you. I was actually out at a wedding on the Saturday night. Watched the first half in the car on the way home. I thought the performance wasn't too bad. Obviously, had the goal disallowed after 2 minutes for McBurney. Gelhardt potentially should have just scored the goal himself with that initial shot. It did seem to fall into a bit of a pattern after that where we weren't able to create a whole lot. Portsmouth had a lot of shots, but I think interestingly, we see a lot of the discussion about XG and how much of XG is really worth paying attention to. And people sort of look at the fact that Portsmouth had a high XG and think, it's a bit of a rubbish stat as a result. But I think when you actually break it down to the fact that, yes, Portsmouth had a high cumulative XG from, I think, 20 shots on goal or thereabouts. It actually tells the story that we actually limited Portsmouth to very ineffective shots on goal, shots from distance, nothing that was overly threatening to Panda in goal. So the fact that we were then able to bring Crooks on in the second half, and a goal that I do feel like we scored quite a lot of. I think we've seen quite a few of these sorts of goals where we press the opponent really well. We did, and we'll talk Ipswich in a second. We did it quite well, I thought, against Ipswich this morning. Pressed the opponent, turned the ball over, and Crooks manages to slot a goal, which, I think people were sort of trying to say to themselves, we're not overly reliant on Crooks. Let's not overhype him on his return from injury. And then, of course, he goes and scores a goal immediately to dispel that train of thought. But, as we started by saying, like a really important 3 points.
Yeah, like the shots, I think they had 11 shots and only 4 on target, just looking at the stats here. And, for these not lower teams, because, the championship, a lower team could be a higher team and vice versa. But, I think we're doing a good job this season at just sort of like muddying up the play for the other team, regardless of where the stats lean. I think they had 67% possession. And like you're mentioning with Crooks, back from injury, scored in that game, and we'll get to Ipswich, but he got a yellow card there.
Yeah.
Which I think I was hearing he misses the next 3 games, 2 or 3 games.
2 games, I think it is. Yeah.
Which is not ideal. But yeah, no, it was a good one. We had 2 shots on target total. And
that's all you need, right? As long as it goes in.
goals. That's all you need. So.
I saw the really interesting analogy of sort of comparing us to like a Muhammad Ali, where you kind of go, you absorb all of the pressure, you absorb all the punches, and then you let the opponent tire themselves out, and then you knock them out with one punch. And that sometimes that's all you need, and that's all we needed.
I don't know. Looking at actually another stat that comes out that I noticed, I think they were talking about in the commentating team this morning, was a Portsmouth game. We had, I think, 23 fouls, 23. And that's a lot. So maybe we are throwing a few more punches, but in a few different ways. But that's I don't know. Like I feel like we've had a lot of yellow cards this season, and I don't know if it's like the games that we have trigger happy refs as opposed to other refs who are a bit more lenient. I don't know if that plays into it either, but we'll get to Ipswich. But I noticed that this morning as well. But 23 fouls in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made the comment before about teams that fight relegation one season can be going for promotion the next, and that's certainly the boat that we found ourselves in. And I think one of the key differentials between last season and this has been having that bit more of a backbone, and you've got your Ollie McBurneys and your John Lundstroms and guys like that, Joseph as well, who's kind of become a bit more ferocious in his effort. I thought he was good from the start in this one as well. And I actually think, and I'll talk more about him with the Ipswich game, I actually thought Kumas is sort of one who, might have been a bit too hasty with writing him off. I thought he, other than his goal against Blackburn, hasn't shown a whole lot in the City shirt, but I think in his last two games, he's actually started to really make a case for starting more regularly for us. I thought he had a really good game.
Yeah, I thought, he's sort of come alive a little bit more, and just seems like he's a bit more confident in the way he's playing. Especially this morning's game, that wasn't an easy team against. I think Ipswich would be one of the best teams in the comp, and obviously it shows top three. I think he did really well in sort of, I guess, his role in where we're at. Even though we didn't get the win, it could have gone almost either way. Especially in the second half, I was really waiting for us to sort of get a goal in the second half.
Yeah, that's it. Talking about the Portsmouth game and the smash and grab, it just felt like that was coming this morning as well. Hey, I'll get your votes for the Portsmouth game, and then we can talk more Ipswich if you've got.
Let's go Crooks for Portsmouth on 3. What are we doing? 3 points, and then Panda and I'll just do Kumas.
You've pretty much got the same 3 as me. I had Crooks for the 3 votes, Panda for the 2. Just to change it up, I'll go Famoe for the 1 vote. I thought him starting in place of Giles, he doesn't have the same width or the same attack as Giles, but I think he's shown to be a really dependable deputy in that position. So I thought he was really good. And again against Ipswich today, he came off the bench, and I thought he was terrific. But we'll talk that game now. Ipswich this morning, like you said, a side that could arguably be leading the division, a really strong side. You look at some of the players they're bringing off the bench, like Mehmedi late in the game. Players that, sort of incomparable to what we were able to bring on. Dan Neal as well, coming off the bench for them. Leif Davis as well. So a really strong side. I went into the City to watch this game, and I sort of joked about the fact that the last time I went in to watch us play was against Chelsea, and it's another team in blue. And in some ways, it did feel like it was a similar sort of golf in quality with the players they were able to put out. But I thought it was a terrific display. I thought, you look at the lineup, it was 5 at the back. It was sort of packing that midfield. It was a bit like the Middlesbrough game a month or so ago, where clearly the idea was to sort of frustrate them and sit in deep and really hit them on the counter. And we almost got away with it.
Yeah, I missed a lot of the first half. I woke up late and then was trying to get the stream to work. But I don't think we can. I think we can be pretty proud with the display there. There was a few things that we probably need to tighten up. I noticed a bit of the crossing, the crosses would be good, but then to sort of follow it up. And then, although when Joseph came on later in the second half, he came on in the second half, but he played. He sort of, injected some energy, and I don't know. You could tell Miller was probably not having the best game to maybe his standards. He was still, sort of chasing the ball every time. But yeah, just I don't think things were clicking for him as well as he probably wanted. I just noticed that like when he got subbed off, he was he wasn't too happy. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he was more frustrated at himself or at Jurkovic, or what was your interpretation of that?
It's a hard one. I think I don't know. He didn't snub Jurkovic, so I think he just sort of was probably a bit annoyed with himself. But oh well, sometimes you have those games. But he didn't play terribly either. It's just I think Sergei definitely saw something that he needed to change, and actually that's another thing. I think Ipswich probably outplayed us in the bench situation, and well, like you were saying before, they've got such a solid just lineup all over, and I don't know how many injuries that they've had, and maybe people are back, but like they've just, whoever goes off, there's someone just as good coming on, and and for us to sort of only come away with like a 1-0 loss, like that's not terrible.
No,
we didn't have a lot of possession, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like, look, you look at the fact that McBurney was on the bench for this one. Hadjimetovic also got a bit of a rest. So you sort of can look at it as, well, a couple of our important cogs rested and ready to play against Millwall this weekend. But you're sort of caught in two minds of, like, how much do you want to go for this game to really try and get the win versus how much do you just sort of treat it as a free hit and see if you can, freshen up some of the players. So, I mean, it was interesting. Gelhardt coming off at half time. Like, I don't know if he's still carrying something or if he's not fully fit. But, Ajayi back on the bench for this one as well was a good name to see there. So hopefully that means that he's, sort of ready to be available for some of the games coming up as well. But I thought, touching on Kumas, who we talked about with the first game as well, I thought he was really effective leading the line. Miller, I think he was really trying a bit too hard sometimes. Like, you sort of look at the way he's either going for a shot, or maybe it's like whether it's overhitting a cross or it's a crazy attempt at goal from some of those tight angles he was attempting, and the number of times he got caught offside as well. Bit of a frustrating one. But I think that kind of comes with the territory of these sorts of games, where some of the players probably just think that they need to try that a little bit extra to get a result, which is really tough for them. But oh, look, it's such a funny one because I sort of go into that game expecting a loss. We're not sort of like shamed by that sort of result. It's only a 1-0 defeat at Ipswich. I thought the guys put in a really good display. I thought Slater in midfield was excellent again. A lot more like positive performances than negative, I think, in the side. I thought Panda was excellent in goal, made some really important saves.
I was going to say, in both games, he's just been like, especially this game, he really kept us in it. There was a lot of
It was like right after they scored. Was it Clark had that like, I mean, he should have scored. Like, we're watching that in the pub, just thinking like, how's he not scored there? He's basically got a tap in, and he's partly sort of shot it back towards Panda, so it's probably a pretty easy save in that respect. But still, like, to get back across and make that save is really impressive from him. Makes the double save as well. So a couple of good saves as well at his near post, which were really impressive as well. I thought Hughes as well in defence was really good. A couple of his balls up forward were really impressive. So it's such a hard game to dissect because you just sort of think like, it's a loss, but you're pretty happy with the performance, or all in all.
Yeah, and that last 20 minutes or so, I think, we were really switched on. I don't know what the possession is for the last 20 minutes, but it seemed like we had most of it. We were, going hell bent for leather, and that it's good to see. We didn't come away with the win, but like that urgency, especially coming into the end of the season, and every game's crucial now. It's been crucial. Well, every crucial. Like you sort of tend to favor these ones a little bit more, and I think it's really good to see everyone sort of really putting their best foot forward. Especially against a team like Ipswich. They didn't seem they seemed confident, and Oh yeah, I guess I mentioned Crooks.
Yeah.
Getting the again, we had I think 13 fouls in this one. Yeah, 13 fouls. So nothing, not as much, but like it's still, I think one of the commentators was saying that we potentially might even have some of the most yellow cards in the season. But I haven't checked that. But would like to see.
Let me try and verify that. I was looking up some of the stats. So to your point about possession, so second half we did have 50% of possession, which when you then think even more so for that last 20 minutes, it would have been maybe sort of 60% possession because you're right. Like as soon as we go the goal down, we really flick that switch and go to 4 at the back. We're clearly a lot more aggressive with our style, and it's a really tough one because you kind of go, if we played that way from the start, are we more likely to be in the game or less likely? Because are we going to burn ourselves out if we try that from the start? So it's a tough one to call, but it certainly looked really good that last 20 minutes.
We switched on, and I'd like to see that because it wasn't that long ago that we would just sort of switch off in games like this where we might concede something early, like especially I think last season where we concede something early and then it would just be a bit of a punish to watch the rest of the game. And I think this season I think we've conceded it from memory, like around the start of the season we would concede early but then run back with 2 more goals to win the game. And how'd you go with the stats?
I'm just having a look. So the team with the second most yellow cards in the division is Preston North End with 74 yellow cards. The team with the most yellow cards in the division is none other than Hull City with 88 yellow cards. So just the 14 extra yellow cards. So it was a great stat to bring up, actually.
That's a lot.
It's a considerable number, yeah.
Would we say that Sergei's approach is he's got maybe an aggressive coaching style?
Yes. But I think, look, like we're sort of touching on before, I think it's one that works more often than it doesn't in terms of that high intensity, the pressing, winning the ball back high up the pitch. Like I'm trying to think there's probably a few games, like for example, the Stoke game where we win the ball high up, turn the ball over and score a goal as a result that wins us a game. So I think more often than not, it proves to be beneficial. But certainly when it comes to Crooks and his 10 yellow cards, it's less beneficial.
And oh god, god damn. Yeah. Well, do you have any votes for this one?
Look, I think I have to go with Panda for the 3 votes for this one. I thought he had a terrific game and really on another day would have deserved to have won us the game or kept us in the game more effectively than we ended up being. I'm actually going to go Kumas the 2 votes. I thought he again was really terrific, leading that line for the first half, been a shift for most of the game, and had a terrific game for us. And I'll give the 1 vote to Slater. I thought him in midfield was really effective, breaking the ball up, intercepting, winning the ball back. And I think it was late on, Kumas had won the ball and was driving towards the box, and Slater did a cheeky little back heel for him to set up a chance where you just think like someone like Regan Slater doing a back heel like that in the box against Ipswich is so audacious, and you'll absolutely love to see it. So
it's very Slater
for me. How about you?
Yeah, that's him to a T, isn't it? But it isn't in a way that it isn't. I think I had a very similar. I went Panda for 3 points. I think he was incredible. God, he might even get player of this season. Oh, well, maybe too early to tell. We'll see. 3 points for him, and Kumas was my 2 points. And my 1 point was, I'll give it to Joseph just because I really liked what I saw, towards the end of the game, and he was still trying to really bring it home.
Nice one. Yeah, well, let's talk Millwall and Wrexham together because they're the 2 sides sandwiching us in the table at the moment. Millwall in 4th, Wrexham in 6th. Millwall with the 4 wins out of their last 5, and Wrexham with 3 wins in a row in their last 3 starts. Really, sort of as you were touching on with the Portsmouth game being a must-win to an extent, these 2 games to me, it's almost must not lose in either of them, and obviously ultimately wanting the 2 wins. But I think as long as we're not losing the games, even if we got 4 points from these 2 games, I'd be reasonably happy. But I just look at, these 3 games, Ipswich included, with sort of a season-defining 3-game stretch. And I think it just makes these 2 games even more important now to just pick up some points and to stay ahead of, Southampton, 4 wins in their last 5, picking up points. Derby, still looking reasonably dangerous as well there as well. So it's all about sort of staying ahead of that pack. I think potentially that Ipswich loss does start to think, to rule out that top 2 position for us, and it becomes just about maintaining or solidifying that top 6 position. But yeah, 2 huge games coming up in the next 7 days.
Big games, really exciting games. Where we got, there you go, Millwall's another 10:30 p.m. in Queensland time on Saturday.
Yeah, a couple more lovely timed games. We've got the 11:30 here in New South Wales for the Millwall game, and then 6:45 a.m. midweek for the Wrexham game.
Yeah, how far back? I'll be in Perth this weekend, so
3 hours. 3 hours this weekend. Oh, that's lovely for you. That's gonna be like an 8:45 kickoff.
That's assuming I'll be able to get away from the holiday that I'm supposed to be on. Are
you there midweek though? Because that's like a 3:45 a.m. midweek game against Wrexham.
Yeah. So whatever the Saturday one is minus however many hours, that'll be 7:30 for the Saturday, and then what? Or is it forward? No.
3 hours behind New South Wales. So what's that? 8:45, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And then for the Wrexham game as well. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be good. I'll be trying to watch it. I'll probably be at like Margaret River drinking a wine somewhere, or maybe not.
Lovely.
Hopefully. These games incredible. I think it's I just remember at the start of the season or before the season when Wrexham first got promoted to the championship. Everyone sort of had in their mind that they're not going to do it again. They can't do it again. And I'm really it. I think it's crazy that they're able to sort of sit. Well, they're at 6th at the moment. And they've been there for a while as well. I think they've been 6 was probably like a month or 2 ago or something. And they're doing, an incredible job for. Obviously they have the financial backing behind them, but some of it, the rest of us do as well. I think that's going to be a really fun one to watch. There'll be a lot of people watching that one. I think Wrexham just gets a lot of spark of, a lot of interest outside of English football, just in general, obviously, because one would say it's the American team. But Millwall, I don't know. I haven't taken too much notice on what they've been doing this season. And then, realizing that they've been sitting, either just above or just below us for the last 2 months or so.
Because we beat them away. That was the game that Joseph got the double, and then McGurney came off the bench to score to beat them. There's just something I just feel like I put them in the same bracket as like a Preston or someone, where I go, okay, they're playing really well. They're playing sort of above themselves, but it's the sort of side that I feel like we match up pretty well against.
I think we do. I think traditionally we've done pretty well against Millwall, haven't we? Which is funny because then there's other sides, probably lower in the table that do really well against us, and everyone's got their weakness, I guess. But I don't know. I don't have too many thoughts around sort of how we might play with this one. Do you think that a few of the key players will come off the bench? Not come off the bench. Will start for this. Who were probably rested for.
I mean, it's a good question, and with the Ipswich game in particular, with McNair starting in that one, and I actually thought McNair looked pretty solid this morning, starting. And I know Egan got the yellow card and got subbed off, and McNair played out the game, and I thought he was really good. It was interesting seeing him on a lot of the set pieces as well, which was maybe a bit unexpected. I don't know what that means for Ajayi and whether we try to throw him back in at some point, and maybe it's the Wrexham game. I'm not sure. McBurney obviously had the rest this morning, so you'd think he'll come back in for the Millwall game. But it's a tough one. Maybe Miller drops out and you put Kumas and Gelhardt on the wings, or maybe Gelhardt misses out if he's struggling for fitness. It's going to be interesting to see what Jakirovic does. But Look, I think ultimately it's hard, right? Like, yeah, I agree. Like Wrexham, it's crazy to see them up in 6th and potentially going for that 4th promotion. And I was just at work today, and people were sort of talking about how Wrexham are doing so well, and I wouldn't be shocked to see us in a playoff final against Wrexham. Yeah, I think if almost like the perfect scenario for me would be if we finished 4th, Ipswich were 3rd, and Millwall and Wrexham, basically exactly how it is at the moment. And Wrexham knock Ipswich out in the playoffs. We knock Millwall out and we play Wrexham in the final. Because I just think all the pressure would be on Wrexham and all the focus would be on Wrexham, and we can just do our thing and get the win. But look, I think 4 points. As I sort of said, I think 4 points from these 2 games would be optimal. I'm not overly ambitious for getting the 6 points. I think 4 points would be just about enough. And I trust Jurkovic to rotate the team as needed. But I think like when you look back on when we played Wrexham earlier in the season, that was probably the last really complete performance that we had, where we basically knocked them out 2-0 at the MKM. I know Panda saved a penalty, but seemed like a really solid performance for us. And I think especially away at the racecourse, I'd see us doing it again.
Yeah, I think so. We've got, I think we're potentially the best away team.
Even after this morning, I think we're still the best away team.
Yeah, which is, huge raps on that. And, I guess obviously I'm more worried about the Millwall game at home. So I like, if we can get 1 point there, be happy. And then Wrexham, honestly, 2 points out of these 2 fixtures I'm not mad about, but would be definitely one that you were saying that stuff it. Let's get a 4-0 win over them. That's what I'm going for. Let's go 1-1 for Millwall, and then 4-0 for 0-4 for Wrexham and Hull.
Love it. Yeah, I wouldn't be unhappy with those scores. And then it's good to know because we've got West Brom and Sheff Wednesday as the 2 games after this. So you'd like to think you could pencil in 6 points against those 2. You never want to get too complacent, but you'd like to think that's 6 points after these 2 games. So you don't want to get too nervous with these 2 games. And like Jurkovic has been saying last week with, in the lead up to the Ipswich game, you just want the players to enjoy it, because how often do you get to be in this position to be chasing promotion? Like, go out, enjoy the football. And it looked like they did this morning. Like, Slater trying his cheeky back heels and, all the rest of it. I think that they're not going into their shells. So I think that's the main thing. And I think that's hopefully what we'll continue to see in these 2 games. But 4 points would be fantastic. And we'll see what happens.
You got any golden boots for these games? Do you reckon someone's going to sort of play out of their skin over these 2 games?
Oh, that's a good question. Who's been in good form? I think we're in for a Kumas special against Millwall. I reckon Kumas will get a couple of goals against Millwall, and I reckon against Wrexham, Joseph hasn't scored for a while, so we're in store for. It's funny actually. I think Joseph scored against both of these teams the first time we played them, so we'll see if he can produce some moments of magic for these games. But I reckon he'll do something against Wrexham for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. I was thinking Miller, just because he was sort of bounce back, and then obviously McBurney will do McBurney. I don't think there's any. You don't need to put him on a pedestal because he'll do whatever he needs to do. But yeah, good shout on Kumas. Let's see him sort of keep rising to the top. So
great shout. Well, thanks for joining me for this one, Dill.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks everyone for listening in. We'll be back next week to chat Millwall and Wrexham. Hopefully we've picked up the 4 or even 6 points from those 2 games and continue our trek towards the playoffs. But until then,